Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing today, friend? So, the day that this podcast is released, November 4th, is my birthday. So, I am recording this a few days ahead of time so that I can have my birthday to be fancy free. I'm taking the day off. I'm nurturing myself. It'll probably involve sushi and nature and just taking a day to breathe and focusing on my inner world, having a day of fun and joy and all those good things. So I'm recording a little bit ahead of time, a few days ahead, so that you can enjoy a Monday episode like normal, and I can enjoy my day flitting around on my island on my birthday. So happy November 4th to you. Okay, so today we are talking about the dark night of the soul. And a lot of you have heard of the dark night of the soul. A lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you have maybe heard the term, and maybe for some of you it is new. So we're going to dive into what this is. But first, I want to ask you, have you ever felt like things were unraveling? This could be a business, a relationship, your beliefs, your sense of self, everything that you thought you wanted is crashing down. That can be physically, like I said, relationships dismantling, things falling away, or inside. We get to this place where we might even feel like, what is the point of all of this? What do I truly want for myself? Have I even been living a life that I desire? Have I even been living a life that I, want? Those types of really big questions. When you feel like the life that you had is in some ways slipping away, you're left raw, you're left a little bit uncertain. This is part of the dark night of the soul, and you are not alone. This journey, although difficult, is definitely a sacred one. And we often call the dark night of the soul something bad, or we talk about it like it needs to be feared. But actually, it is a powerful call from within, guiding us back to our most authentic self. And more importantly, helping us to dismantle what is not for us, what we have been living that is not in alignment with our authentic self, that is not in alignment with where we are going. So the dark night of the soul isn't just like something that happens on a Tuesday. It's not just a bad day. It is a period of time where we do feel raw, where we do feel gooey. If any of you have been around this, community for a while, we talk about the goo phase. That can definitely, the dark night of the soul is a huge goo phase. So these only happen a few times in our lives. For us that are really about awakening and personal growth, spiritual growth, it may happen more than once because we truly are here to transform. But the dark night of the soul is the time when things break down so that who we are meant to become, who we truly are, can come forward. So if you feel like things have been unraveling, dismantling, unclear, you're feeling raw, you're feeling maybe even totally foggy, like you have no idea what's going on, you just know that the life you were living, that you used to live, isn't resonating anymore. Maybe there's certain pastimes, thoughts, friend circles, even your career. A lot is changing and you may not be who you were before, but you're not yet where you're going. If it's a particularly intense time like that, or you've experienced this before, this is probably the dark night of the soul. And we're going to talk all about this so that you know what to do in this time, what is going on, and how important these purification times truly are. So I'm not going to go too far into it in the intro. I'm so excited you're here. Grab your coffee, maybe even grab your champagne, your water, whatever you've got going on, and let's dive into today's episode. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Awakening Her podcast. I am so grateful that you've been led here, and I'm so excited for you that you're answering the call to manifest more magic in your life. My name is Talia Joy, and I am committed to showing you exactly how to manifest more excitement, ease, success, abundance, confidence, love, and anything else you've been craving. So if you're ready to go on a magical journey of spiritual and self-growth to manifest the life you're meant for, we are now besties. Let's dive in. Okay, so we're talking about the dark night and understanding the purpose behind our pain. So whether or not you're going through a dark night of the soul for sure this time period, or maybe just you're experiencing discomfort like we talked about in the last episode, feeling stuck, experiencing pain physically, mentally, flare-ups, these types of things, this will all help you to truly understand what's going on a deeper level. So the term dark night of the soul comes from a 16th century Spanish mystic, St. John of the Cross, and he described it as a phase of passive purification of the spirit. Eckhart Tolle also talks about the dark night of the soul, and he talks about it as being a death and rebirth. So a quote from one of his books, he says, "The dark night of the soul is a kind of death, and what dies is the egoic sense of self. Nothing real has actually died, only an illusionary identity." So this is truly where the ego starts breaking down. And if you've heard the term ego death, this is closely related. So Eckhart Tolle, I love how he talks about this, and he talks about how we have deaths and rebirths all the time. This is 100% how I see life. The butterfly, the transformation, there's always a form of death and rebirth, even in nature, changing seasons, leaves fall, they die, new buds come, it's born, this is a part of life. And just like a caterpillar goes into a chrysalis, we also go through a period of incubation, of deconstruction. Again, that symbol of death and rebirth. But for us, it's a death of ego, a death of old beliefs, a death of outdated identities. So in this episode, and as we talk about this, I'm going to show you how this breakdown is the precursor of true transformation. And again, we touched on that in the previous episode about feeling stuck. We're just taking it further into the dark night of the soul. So the dark night comes along to bring attention to our core wounds, our deep-seated beliefs, and the illusions we've had about ourselves that do not serve us going forward, that are halting our growth. And I see it like we have to have these metaphoric deaths, I'm doing air quotes, so that our soul can be awakened to more of itself. It's almost like we grow out of an old shoe and we need to loosen, take off the shoe to make space for how big we're becoming. So in an energetic sense, we get constricted by our limits, by our ego, by our beliefs, all these things we're talking about. And we need a grand old stripping down of all of that stuff to create space for us to grow. So the darkness is a void that contains within it a purification, a cleansing, a refinement, where you're born into or reborn into higher consciousness. You're more aligned with yourself, with your source, with who you truly are and where you're going and your fullest expression. But first, parts of your ego must die. The part of us that grips onto old ways of being, those old beliefs that were taught to us from society and our parents and all this stuff, we must break free of all that stuff so that we can emerge as who we truly are. This is the death and rebirth. This is the transformation. Again, this is the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's the tree blossoming after winter. It's the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis that was originally a caterpillar. This is the process of transformation. And if you're here for self-growth, manifestation, personal development, spiritual development, you will pull yourself through a dark night of the soul. If you're really going to come here to, embrace all that you're meant to be, which you will and you are. So as I said, the dark night of the soul calls attention to your wounds and often the most guarded and protected part of you. So you slowly start unplugging from the 3D world, the stories about yourself, who you think you are, what you think you have to settle for, what you think your role is, your identity is, the illusions of this physical experience. And as you release yourself from these false beliefs, again, you create space for the soul-aligned version of you, the whole authentic self, who you truly are without the masks, the layers, the identities, and everything that has been put on you that does not serve you or is not true to who you truly are. So in this period and in transformation, it is so important not to cling to your old life, your old way of being. The best thing you can do, and yes, it's kind of the hardest, is to let go. to release the stranglehold, to trust and allow the process to happen because it will anyway. And either we're kicking and screaming, wondering why everything's being dismantled and everything's changing and we're changing and what we want, we didn't want, or what we used to want, we don't want now. Either we go like, what is going on? Or we learn to roll with it. We learn to go with this process. So physically, the dark night of the soul is often intense and it has symptoms that can literally make you crash, stop, halt, rest. This is normal. So it's normal to go through periods of feeling depressed as you are truly going like, what is the meaning of this? Do I even have what it takes? Like, it's a really big time. So it's normal to feel, like the essence or feelings of depression. It's normal to feel lethargic, to feel exhausted. You can get the spiritual flu, which is random pain, nausea, digestive issues, headaches, things like digestive, like diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, that kind of thing. Anything else that makes you stop, rest, and cleanse yourself in some way. So as I said in the beginning, the dark night, it's more than just a weekend thing. You will usually experience these types of symptoms for months, sometimes even like a year. It just depends on how you navigate it, how you go through it, and how much you resist it, really. The less we resist it, the faster it moves through us. So transformation sounds super glamorous, right? But often it's anything but. When you're in the middle of the blinding darkness, the dark night of the soul, it can feel confusing, excruciating, heavy, sad, really just unclear. When you're asking some of the biggest questions of your life, it can be uncomfortable. When we're asking, what's the point of all this? Do I have what it takes to make it through? What am I even doing? Has my whole life been a lie? Is this all an illusion? How does this experience work? Like all of this, I guess probably existential crisis. That is often the dark night of the soul. And again, it's a breaking down so that you can find those answers for yourself within yourself to build yourself back up. And this is an intervention orchestrated by your soul, signaling that it's time to get in touch with your true, authentic self. So as I said, it's important to understand that this time is calling attention to the places that need to be healed, integrated, our core wounds, our deep-seated beliefs. It's not a punishment. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's a wake-up call. So sometimes we do have like a breakdown, and this is a dark night. We can be on our path. I know personally, I can be on my path and so much trust and faith and so much focus, and every once in a while when it feels like stuff is just crumbling, I get really almost like heavy, sad, deep, and kind of go like, I feel deflated. It's like, do I even have what it takes to get through this? And I've honestly had thoughts of like, oh, maybe in the next lifetime. Like it feels that tough, but it's not a punishment. And it's not that I'm doing anything wrong or you're doing anything wrong. It is an intervention orchestrated by your soul, guiding you back to your true essence, your true purpose. It's a rebirth. It's not just a death with nothing after that. It is a rebirth, asking us to melt away the false layers, to reveal who we truly are. So if this is resonating with you, I highly recommend joining Momentum Tribe, where we're going to be working through this type of thing together, the breaking down, the building back up, the how to navigate. So if you're going through a big transformation, or if you feel like you're going through a dark night, or this really resonates, I highly recommend checking out Momentum Tribe, which is below. So as we move through a dark night, I really want to emphasize the importance of surrender. The dark night is not something to resist, but something to accept as best we can, surrender to as best we can. So my definition of surrender, I've broken this down on the Path in a deep dive episode. You may have heard it. But my definition of surrender is to stop resisting what is, to not fight what is. So it doesn't have to be super spiritual, super deep. It's more about to not resist what is going on right now, what is in front of you in life. So when we're going through this, resisting it can look like, why is this happening? No, I got to cling on to that old way of being. I just need to force the pieces together. I just need to hustle more and make it work. Meanwhile, everything's trying to crumble. We're much better to accept it, to allow the pain, to allow the discomfort, to use our tools, and to allow the uncertainty to move through us, to like work it, right? To work the uncertainty rather than being a victim to it. So it's better in the dark night to respond rather than to react, or to just let go, to just allow it to be there, allowing yourself to break down, allowing yourself to be messy, because it's not until we kind of clear that stuff away that the new buds start to come forward, that the rebirth starts to happen. So I want to also talk about releasing old identities. This phase is massively about shedding the attachments of who we thought we were. The masks, the beliefs, the identities from the past. Also the conditioning, the I'm a this person, I'm a that person, I can't do this, I can do that, I'm bad with money, I'm good with money, all of this shit that is not really who you are, but has felt that, as it has felt like who you are. As you go through the awakening process and you start going like, oh my goodness, like I'm not my income, and I'm not just my career. I'm not just a mom or a dad or a this. Who am I really, right? Those big questions I told you you'd be asking, that's part of releasing the identities. So seeing this as a shedding where we allow the conditioning to fall away. And I'll get this, like, say it's in my health journey or in my business where something's just not working, and I'll keep trying to do the same thing over and over. And maybe if I just find the right angle, and maybe if I just find the missing piece, but I'm really just doing the same thing over and over. And it's not always a dark night of the soul, but when I just stop and look at, like, there's so much resistance, this is just not working. Okay, I need to let go. I need to step way back to allow the conditioning to fall away. So in my business, sometimes I notice that I'll have beliefs around, oh, people don't want this, or people do want that, or who says I'm qualified for this, or whatever else. And that stuff needs to all settle away. If I'm looking at what all those other people are doing, or what the coach told me about what sells and what doesn't sell, I have to just release all of that to get to my true essence of how I want to show up, what my message is. And that's just one example in business. This happens in every area of life. When it's my health and I'm trying to just, I don't do dieting or anything now because of my history with an eating disorder, but a couple decades ago, I would feel so uncomfortable in my body. It's like, oh, I got to do the Mediterranean diet or this cleanse or that cleanse. And pretty soon it's like, I can't even keep up with it. I literally had multiple breakdowns in my eating disorder because the pressure was just too much. All of the rules, all of the, regiments, all the plans, it was just too much. I literally had to, in my healing journey from the eating disorder, walk away from all rules, all schools of thought, no more low carb, this, that, trying to be vegan, trying to be this. I couldn't do any of it anymore. I had to release everything to then allow the way that my body wants to naturally eat, what feels right for me, what types of exercises do I actually enjoy rather than all the shoulds, right? Because my 20s was like the shoulds. You should do the Shanti boot camp. You should do this. If you're not doing Pilates, then you're not going to blah, blah, blah. I had to release it all, walk away. Do no diets, no plans, no regimens, no strict exercise. For the emergence to come through of like, oh, okay, this is how I actually enjoy eating. This is what my body wants. This is the type of exercise. So this happens with money, relationships, career, when things are not working or inside, we're just not happy. We're not feeling fulfilled. We're not stoked to be in our life. We're not feeling, like we're in line with our authentic self. Things have to start breaking down. We have to clear the space. So embracing the void is going to feel lonely, and it might feel frightening and like you're out on your own without a life raft or whatever. You're flailing around like an inflatable tube man. But this is the space of purification. This is the space that holds the sacred pause, the essential emptiness, where we release what no longer serves. And in that emptiness is the freedom to rebuild ourselves into our highest truth. So I've had entrepreneur clients that their business just isn't working and they completely release it. And even like their Instagram account or their website, they just delete everything and then start from the beginning with a more authentic, aligned message. And they'll build their brand faster than when they were trying to do this and patch together that and trying to do this, right? So again, business or not, it's the metaphor, it's the energy I want you to hear about embracing the void. So, as I said, the physical and emotional signs that you're going through a dark night, I talked a little bit about some of the physical signs, but I call this the spiritual flu. And this is where you'll get random things like fatigue, body aches, digestive issues, other symptoms that force you to slow down and take care of yourself. I'll get random headaches as my body is coming to a new vibration. What's the word? Equal. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. When my body is, figuring it out, is coming to a new equilibrium. There we go. I will get headaches. I'll get random body flare-ups. Sometimes actually getting a flu, actually getting, a cold. When I got COVID, it was a spiritual flu because it was in a dense time of upgrade. It was in a dense time of release. And so when these things come up, if there's a fever involved, or as I was saying, digestive issues, your body is literally purging. So in a fever, your body heats up and actually not actually boils, but, basically boils out all the pathogens, the bacteria, the viruses that are making you ill. And then after you've had a fever, we have a surge of energy because it literally cleansed so many of the bacterias and all the little viruses and stuff that we have in our body all the time. So sometimes when we're going through a dark night, we will get fevers. We'll get, as I said, diarrhea or a really heavy menstrual cycle. Things like that actually it's our body helping us to take out impurities. Whether it's energetic or physical, you may get all these symptoms of a flu, but it's kind of unexplained, or you kind of never get sick, but you just happen to get sick when you're going through this big upheaval. The best thing to do is just slow down, take care of yourself. Let your body do its thing. Let you do your thing. So you can also get to an emotional depth of heaviness when we're going through a dark night. As I've said, intense feelings of depression, self-doubt, existential crisis. What is the point of all of this, right? So these emotional depths where we feel like, am I losing it? What is going on? But this is normal and it's part of the process. This is part of the cocoon of the chrysalis, because we're literally going inside so depthy to start to build back up again. So everyone's dark night experience varies. And as I said before, it's all about how much we surrender to it, but it's more than a weekend thing. It is a period. And I now, being in this awakening journey, being, the day you're listening to this, it's my birthday, 41 times around the sun. I've learned a lot about the process of transformation. It's literally what I do. So I notice where I'll go through heavier times that are like a month of feeling more anxious, more sad, more weepy, more sensitive. And it's not always a giant dark night, but it's always part of a transformation. It's always just as important. So a dark night itself is a very dense, very amped up time of questioning everything. But we also have times that are like 50% intensity or 70% intensity that move through us too. I always experience a breakdown before a breakthrough, or when things get heavy and uncertain, I always realize something. There's healing that happens. There's clarity that happens on the other side. So it might be a dark night, or it might be something that's like a mini dark night, but still the same truth, the same tools apply. So on the other side of a dark night is the rebirth, is the higher self, the more magnetism, the more in touch with your core values and who you truly are, and a higher level of consciousness. So becoming more aligned with source, becoming more aligned with your soul's purpose, with what you're truly here for, with who you truly are, with what is going on in this experience, how to make the most of it, the present moment, the pleasure, the enjoyment. That does come on the other side. We get a renewed sense of clarity, of peace, and of authenticity. The key, though, is to surrender, but because you're a deep soul here for big transformation, it's also to educate yourself on this. So the dark night of the soul, nothing actually needs to happen through the head. You don't need to learn anything or to apply anything. But the reason why I say to learn about it is just so that you understand it. Because just like in the previous episode with feeling stuck, it's very easy for us to be like, what is going on? I must be doing this wrong. I'm broken. Why can't I keep it together? Why am I crying all the time? Why am I having a breakdown? And that will send us back into the cycle kind of over and over without actually healing through it, without actually moving through it. So it's important to understand the dark night so that you can say, hey, this is a time of big rebirth. This is a spiritual assignment. This is a transformation. We are going to continue moving through. Asking yourself, what is this asking me to release? I'm going to get there in a second of how you can support yourself through. But it is important to know that you're in a spiritual assignment. You're in a rebirth. And beyond that, you don't need to memorize anything or learn about specific anything because it's going to be different for everyone and it's going to be a little bit messy. But it is part of a spiritual assignment. It's a period of reset. It's like a spiritual car wash, cleaning out our limiting beliefs, deep cleaning, getting like behind or under the seats and behind in all the little compartments, those feelings of unworthiness, those feelings of doubt, and clearing away that stuff because that stuff is clouding our ability to be a deliberate creator, to step into our full purpose, to step into why we're truly here. So how you can support yourself during a dark night, I would highly recommend joining Momentum Tribe if that's something you're open to and interested in this time. I can help support you for the next 2 months through this period with tools and awareness and, mentorship. Also, On the Path is a beautiful place to continue on your path, to continue gathering tools. And aside from, my offerings and my work, what you can do is remember to have a lot of self-compassion and patience for yourself. So sometimes I can get really impatient because I'm like, but I just want to get there, right? But reminding yourself to be gentle, remind yourself that this is a profound experience and something you can't rush. You can't go up to the caterpillar that's getting into the chrysalis and be like, hurry up. I'd really appreciate it if you did this rebirth in half the time, right? It just doesn't work that way. You can't rush the seasons. You can't rush your healing, and you can't really rush your growth. The best you can do is roll with it, use your tools, get support if you need to so you're not stuck in it. But other than that, we have to just have self-compassion and patience, knowing that it's a deep learning experience. It's a deep refinement. A diamond cannot be rushed. A diamond cannot be refined quicker, especially when it's in nature, right? We have to just allow it to do its thing. And we have to allow us and our soul to do its thing, to go through the car wash that it's trying to go through. Another thing that is really tough, I have to say it from a spiritual perspective, but I also know from a human perspective, it's tough. The next thing we need to do is release control, is to really try to let go of the need for instant answers, to figure it out. Instead, staying open to the unknown, trusting in your soul, the universe, God, that there's already a highest self planned for you, a destiny that is emerging through this. So staying open. So through that, instead of looking for answers, like how do I fix myself, we can stay open to what is this teaching me? What is dismantling right now? What can I let go of, right? So it's not that we don't do self-growth. It's just we're not anxiously searching for answers. The next thing I would really recommend in a dark night is to seek, if it resonates with you, spiritual support. Because being a human, it can get really overwhelming to keep saying like, you just need to heal your trauma. You just need to flip your limiting beliefs. You just need to do more. You just need to take action. For me, especially through my growth and transformation, spirit is such a big part of it. So you can, of course, you could join Momentum Tribe for that, but you can also do it through meditation, through journaling, connecting to nature, connecting to that higher part of you. If you resonate with a God, a source, really connecting to that. because that is where the higher awareness of what you're going through really starts to come forward. And you realize it's a co-creative process with you in spirit, not just all on your shoulders. Okay, my love. So try to trust in the journey. The dark night is not random. It's an important part of your soul awakening journey. It's literally a symbol that you are awakening and dismantling the old to emerge into the new. And, even when I was in my eating disorder, as I said, all of the rules, like all of the way, like I thought I had to be this weight and I thought I had to eat this way. And I thought that the perfect diet was going to find me happiness. And all of that was keeping me in a disorder. I needed to literally break down, like laying on the floor, crying to source, literally breaking down because I could not keep going the way I was. So when we can't keep going the way that we're going because we're just not happy or we're not in quote unquote alignment with what our highest path is, we will get a dark night to refine us. So this experience has already been mapped out by your soul because you came here for big growth. And I want to just remind you of your inner strength. You would not be experiencing this or many dark nights if you weren't strong enough to endure it. I do believe Source, God, Universe, your soul does not give you something that you cannot handle. It does not give you something that is without a reason. You're here for big growth, which means big transformation. You're not alone in this journey. It's easy to feel like you're all over the place and there's something wrong with you, but I assure you, all my clients that I've ever worked with are either going through it or have just gone through it or have gone through it a couple times. So you're exactly on the right path. You are truly doing a great job. And if you want support in this, I highly recommend Momentum Tribe or looking into inquiring into my one-on-one work because I have a few spots right now for exactly you if you resonate with this. So remember, this journey is evidence of your soul's strength. It is not a sign of weakness if you're going through an incredibly dismantling time. It's a huge sign that you are here for big success, big transformation from the inside out. You are not alone, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Awakening Her podcast, your go-to for real life manifestation. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. Reviews really help the show. You can also find me after the show on Instagram at Talia Joy Manifestation. And listen, love, I know that you are ready to stop spinning your wheels and hustling and doing a bunch of stuff, and you're ready to make the money you want to make, to feel the way you want to feel. And if this is the case for you, then you are absolutely in the right place. I'm so excited. And if you're ready to jump into the implementation, you can check out On the Path. The link is below. Remember, all manifestation starts on the inside. I'll see you in the next episode.